to plan and write. You'll get 10 minutes to plan and write, and this will be in response to a short academic discussion, right? Okay, sorry, 1 minute. I went wrong. The task 1 is an integrated task where you have to read a passage, listen to a lecture, and then answer the question. And task 2, you have to read. What you have to read is usually like a classroom discussion sort of, where the lecturer, and it's all written down. It's a transcript of a classroom discussion. And based on that, you have to write a short paragraph, like you write a blog or an Instagram page, that way it will be. Yeah. So this is your TOEFL structure. Right?
Ma'am,
Clear? Yes?
explain the previous part also. I joined just
Yeah,
now.
you just joined. So you didn't miss much. We were just talking about the structure of the TOEFL section of the TOEFL test. So the 4 sections are reading, listening, reading and listening comprehension, and then will be the speaking and writing. Yeah. So in reading, you have 36 minutes, 20 questions, 2 passages. Your listening, you will get 36 minutes, about 28 questions based on 3 lectures and 2 conversations. So 3 lectures will have about 5 to 6 questions each, and 2 conversations about 6 questions each. Yeah. And speaking and writing, I think you did follow. Yes, Arushi?
No, not on speaking. I covered the writing part.
Okay. So in speaking, you have 4 tasks, and each of the tasks has a different purpose. So we'll elaborate on that later. And what I was stressing on was that in the speaking section, the timing is measured in seconds. So you have to be prepared for that. Okay. So let's move on from here. And when it comes to scoring, your it is what we call scale score. Your total score will be 120, regardless of what section. Your scale score is 30. Now in the reading and listening, if you say in the reading you have 20 questions, yeah, so you'll say, how do we get a score of 30? So they have a scale score system where in the reading they will see of the 20 questions how many you have answered. So it will go into a percentage format, and the percentage will be converted into a score on the scale of 0 to 30. Say you got, say out of 20, you got, say 18 questions correct. So it goes into a percentage of probably 95 or 96. Now that will go into a scale score of say 28. Right? Similarly in listening, now when we come to speaking, each task is actually given a score out of 4. So and it has various parameters. So when you talk about speaking, say task 1 you got 3 out of 4. In task 2 you got 4 out of 4. Maybe in task 3 you got 2 out of 4. So all these scores are added up, and then your total score in speaking comes up to something out of 16. And that score is then converted into a scale score out of 30. Similarly, in writing, each task is scored on a scale of 0 to 5. So total will be out of 10. That is then converted to a scale score of 0 to 30. Yeah. So each section will get a score out of 30, and that total will come to 120. And when you get your scores, sectional scores will also come. And some of the universities even look at your sectional scores. So they insist that, no, some universities are very insistent that you should get a total score of 100, and each section, so minimum score of 100, and each section should not be less than 25. So it's not that you get 30 out of 30 in reading and listening and get 20 in speaking. That won't do. Yeah. So each section you have to do well. And that's where practice comes in. If you don't practice, you won't be able to improve and get your scores. Yeah, but it isn't difficult. You can easily score above 100. Now we will begin with the reading section. Yeah. So as we said earlier also, reading section, you have 2 passages and a total time of 36 minutes. And this is all online. So you have to be able to read, and you can take note, you will get rough paper, you can take notes, but yes, you can't mark or circle, etc., as on a pen paper test. Yeah. And I think you have already had experience with your digital SAT, so won't be a problem. So now when you're talking about the reading section, what type of text will you get? So there will be what they call exposition, argumentation, historical, based on an event or narrative. So, and they are about 700 words long. So if you're a good reader, you have a different strategy. If you're not a very fast reader, you have a different strategy. So based on how you can handle the reading, you will be formulating your strategy. Yeah, I will help you out. I'll give suggestions how to formulate your strategy. Now, when it comes to the raw points, like out of 20 questions, how much are you getting? Some of the questions, now, one thing is there that all of them are multiple choice questions. So you don't have to write anything. And most of the questions have one raw point. So you'll get 1 mark when you get a right answer. And some of the questions are more than 1 raw point. That is, so especially the questions where you have to choose more than one option, those can go into, say, 2 raw points or 3 raw points. And the catch there is that you have to get all the answers correct to get those 3 points or 2 points. So if you got half the answers correct and half of them wrong, you get 0. Yeah, that's what you have to remember. So now we come to what are the question types. So if we have what the question types are in our mind, we know exactly how to deal with them. Yeah. So you have the vocabulary questions, which are the easiest to deal with, where you get the questions would be formed like this. The word is in the paragraph. And another thing which makes it easy is that the paragraph number is given in most of the questions, which are specific to a particular paragraph. And towards the end, you will get questions which are based on the entire passage. So by the time you reach those questions, you have already gone through the entire passage, so it won't be difficult, right? So when you come to the vocabulary questions, if you have a question like the word in paragraph so and so is closest in meaning to, or the word or the say a phrase in paragraph 1 or 2 refers to what, so you know, okay, this is just the meaning of the word. Now, when we come to factual questions, very much like the direct questions or the in your SAT, where or the detailed questions as we used to call them, where it is based on a particular information. Yeah, you don't have to info anything. It is just directly from the passage. So your wordings that so it's important to know the keywords. If you come across the keywords, you know exactly what the question, what you have to look for. So keywords in the question, keywords in the options are also very important. So the keyword will help you to determine whether option is correct or not. Yeah. So when you have come across according to the paragraph or which of the following, or it is stated in the paragraph for that, so you know this is based on direct information. Yeah. Now this is an important question where usually we go wrong because we miss out on the keywords. These are the negative fact questions, and you have to be very careful on this. So they will not tell you directly, say whether the answer is statement is true or false. It is a true false type of question, but it will be framed something like this: all of the following are mentioned in the paragraph except what? And the options are usually a little confusing, because when you come to the options, you will find that half the statement is correct, half of it is wrong. Or maybe the entire statement is talking about a similar point, but not exactly what is mentioned in the passage. So you have to be a little careful on this. Or it will be which of the following is not mentioned in the passage. Yeah, these type of questions will come. And then you have the rhetorical purpose questions, which you people are, I think, very well versed with. What do you mean by rhetorical purpose question, Arushi? What is a rhetorical purpose question? You've done it in SAT.
Yes, ma'am.
So what does it mean?
An open-ended question.
Yes, you can say open-ended question, but a rhetorical purpose question is usually a question which asks you to figure out what the author means to say, right? So you will not get the answer directly from the passage, but you will get clues and you will have to figure out. So even paraphrasing what the author has said will help you to determine. So the questions will be something like, in paragraph whatever, the author discusses something in order to, or why does the author mention a particular fact? Yeah. So these are the type of questions where you don't get your answer directly from the passage, but you have to still figure out. So it comes from the passage itself. It will not be anything beyond the passage, but you have to be careful about what you choose. And then you have the inference questions, where you have to see what the author, if something is stated, what can you infer from it, or what does it imply? So when you come across a word inferred, implies, or suggests, you know it is an inference question. Yeah? And then you have the sentence simplification question, where a sentence is highlighted. It will be a big sentence which is highlighted, and you will be given options. And the question will be something like, which of the sentences below best expresses the essential information in the highlighted sentence in a particular paragraph? So here you have to be able to read the highlighted sentence, paraphrase it, so say it in your own words, and then that will help you to get to the main point in the sentence. So it is basically figuring out the main point of the sentence and then choosing the particular option which is giving you that main point. Right? And there are a few other type of questions which says inserting a sentence. So put a sentence in an appropriate place in the text. So it could be a conclusion, it could be an opening sentence, it could be a connecting sentence in the middle. So you have to read the entire, so it could be like a paragraph is given to you, a sentence is given to you, and it will say in paragraph whatever, there is a missing sentence, where would the sentence best fit? So your options are given, options are marked in your paragraph also, and you have to figure out the context of the sentence and the context and where it fits in the paragraph. Yeah. So this is basically related to an entire, here you have to read the entire paragraph, unlike the others where even a part of the paragraph would do. And last, you have the prose summary questions. So prose summary questions are usually based on the entire paragraph, where you are given about 6 options, and you have to select one. So if you ask, select the options which will summarize the passage. Yeah. Or an introductory sentence for a brief summary of the passage is given below. Complete the summary by selecting the 3 answer choices that express the most important ideas of the passage. So in each paragraph, what is the most important? So it is basically when you are summarizing a passage in, say, about 3 to 4 sentences, what do you need? The main idea of the passage. What is the entire passage talking about? And from there, you will go into the main idea of each paragraph. And it doesn't end here. After selecting maybe the 3 options which fit in to the summary of the passage, you also have to arrange them in order, right? So what comes first, what comes after that, what comes last, that way. Got it? And you can also have another question which may come in. All of them will not come in together, of course. Another question that may come in are the organization questions. So here, a complete table of the which summarizes the information of the passage is given to you. So the question goes something like this: complete the table to summarize information about something in the passage. Match the appropriate statements to the given summary. Yeah. So it could be a table and certain words to be filled in, certain information to be filled in, or it could be a table where you have to match certain information. So match the following you must have done in school earlier, maybe not in 11, 12. So we have to go back to that. Okay. Done. So these are the different types of questions. Now, when you keep in mind these different types of questions, what do you have to do when you are reading a passage? What do you have to look for? So you have to make inferences, comprehend certain facts, and figure out what a word means. That is a vocabulary. And then this is the most important. Distinguish essential and non-essential information. So when you are given the options may contain some essential information, some non-essential information. So if you are not able to distinguish the non-essential information and eliminate the answer choices, you are most likely to get the answer wrong. Right? So this is extremely important. So now we come to, you have a 700-word passage, which is about one, if you see your textbooks or if you have gone through the PDF, it's about one, a little more than a page, right? So when you have a big, now on screen, the entire passage will come up first for you to be, get accustomed with it. And then after that, you will come across the questions. And when the questions come, that is one thing is good, is when the questions come, that particular paragraph comes up along with the question. So you don't have to scroll up and down the entire passage to find where the particular question may belong to. Yeah. So now when we come to the reading strategies, first thing is you have to be an active reader. What do you mean by being an active reader, anyone? No idea? Shreyansh? So when you read, how do you read actively? You understand what the passage is talking about, right? Pick up the important key words, some key information. Maybe you don't have to remember what the entire passage is. Remember, we are talking about the particular paragraph coming up when the question comes. So you don't have to read every word of the passage. You just have to understand the main idea of the entire passage. Yeah. So if you are a very fast reader, maybe you can go through the entire passage, but Will you remember everything that you have read? Not really. Yeah. So we just focus on the main idea of every paragraph. Read the first line, read the last line, and figure out what the paragraph is about. Yeah. So getting an idea of the paragraph helps at the end. So, and when the paragraph comes up for you and the question is there, that time you will be able to summarize the paragraph. So when you summarize a paragraph, you can just note down in your rough paper what is the main idea of the paragraph. So that will help you when you come to the paragraph summary questions. So you don't have to scroll up and down the entire passage again to see what each paragraph was talking about. And the main strategy that you adopt when you are dealing with a big passage is skim and scan. Skim and scan means when you are reading a passage, you are not actually reading every word of it. You are just going through. So you are reading the first. The strategy that you can follow is read the first line, read the last line of every paragraph. If the first, or rather the first sentence and the last sentence, if the sentence is too long, just go through it and see, okay, what are the keywords, what is it talking about? So when any passage, the first sentence usually gives you an introduction to the particular paragraph. Yeah. The first sentence of a passage and the last sentence of a passage will give you the introduction and conclusion. Similarly, every paragraph, the first sentence is usually a topic sentence, which gives you a pretty fair idea of what is going to come up in the paragraph. So that's what you are looking for. Yeah. So that will help you when you are writing down the main idea of the first line of every paragraph. You create what is called a chapter map, which helps you at the end to figure out which questions are wrong, which information is not in the passage. And when you come to the questions, there's where you scan the details of the paragraph. So don't start with reading the entire passage with details when it comes up. Just skim through the passage, and then when the particular paragraph comes up with the question, that's where you go through the details. Yeah. So you will not be wasting time, and you will get enough time to analyze the questions and the options and get your answer right. And okay, one thing important is when you are practicing, always have your timer on. So when you are reading, so if you think that, okay, I want to read through the entire passage, you have to make sure that you don't take more than 2 minutes, 1.5 or 2 minutes to read through the passage. If you are taking more than 2 minutes, then stop reading. Okay? Now, what is the next thing you do? Keywords. Keywords are what help you to identify the right answer. So, when you are talking about keywords, they are not prepositions or articles, etc. Yeah, yeah. But there are certain words which are crucial to answering questions, like extreme words, most of, all of. Maybe in the question, they haven't talked about all of, they've given a particular fact. Now, if you have an option which talks about say, if we say all the people are facing this particular problem, whereas in the question, in the passage, they may have talked about some people. Yeah, so those extreme words will never give you the right answer. So keywords, what are the keywords that you look for? Verbs, nouns, adjectives. Describing something, giving something particular facts, and telling us what it is doing or And proper nouns, of course, it may help you to find the answer, but proper nouns are not usually the keywords. So, and when you have identified the keywords, that will help you to eliminate the wrong answer. Now, one thing is important, modifiers and extreme words. Now, you know what modifiers are. You've done it in SAT. Modifiers are words or phrases which give you extra information, which may even change the meaning of the sentence. And extreme words I just talked about, all of or most. These would be extreme words which you have to be very careful about. And whenever you are answering a question, make sure you know why it is a correct answer or why it is an incorrect answer. So when you are practicing, if you get an answer wrong, or even if you get an answer right, so that will become a part of your strategy. If you get an answer right, you should know the reason for the right answer. If you get an answer wrong, go back to the question again and figure out why you got it wrong. So the next time when a similar type of question comes up, same question will not come up. Neither will you get the same passage. But a similar question comes up, you will know how to deal with it. Yeah. So always reflect on your answers. Now you can, so this is a strategy which we follow. Plan, act, reflect, and adjust. So what do you mean? When we say plan, means you have to first have a strategy. You have to read, figure out what the main idea is. Then you act. Now this applies to all the sections. Yeah. Now you reflect, you act means you choose the right answer. Then you reflect. Is this the right answer? What is the reason for it to be right? And if you think that you have a little doubt, go back, adjust. So if you follow this, you will never get your answer wrong. Yeah. If you are in a hurry, you read half the question, you read the options haphazardly, you will not get your answer right. Okay. So why do we get, so this is important to keep in mind. Why do we get an answer wrong? Yeah. Either you misread the passage or you misread the question. That is, you forget to look at the keywords in the question. Yeah. Or you did not understand what the question was talking about or what the passage was talking about. So you missed out on certain words. Right? Now, what is important is time management. Now, yes, you are lucky enough. You got 36 minutes for 20 questions, which is quite a bit. But still, it may happen that you marked a question for review and weren't able to get back to it. Yeah. So how do you manage your time? First thing, eliminate. Don't try to figure out what is the right answer. Eliminate. Anything that seems wrong, eliminate. Yeah. That will help you save time. And then track the choices that you eliminate. So maybe in your rough sheet, you just write down. So maybe you have your options A, B, C, D. What do? Now, when you read, A seems to be a right answer. Circle, keep. B seems to be a wrong answer. C is absolutely wrong. D, you are not sure about. So then that helps you. You have eliminated B and C. You can go back to D and figure out whether it is right or wrong. But you know A is most probably the right answer. So which is a better choice? Is A a better choice or is D a better choice? So which is the best choice will be your answer. Even if the two answers, you can have two answers where both seem to be correct. What do you do over there? Which is a complete answer, which is giving you a complete information. Maybe D also has the same information, but something is missing, or it is partly correct, partly wrong. Yeah. So maybe a little part of it is talking about something else which is not stated in the passage. So you have to look for a completely correct answer. If you're able to do that, you get your answer right. So elimination helps you to narrow down that you have done that strategy. I think you have adopted in SAT also. Yes or no? No one wants to nod their heads also. Okay. So yeah, this is important. Don't waste your time thinking about the right answer. Eliminate, narrow down your options, analyze the options, again eliminate. Right? So, and yes, this is important. Don't skip a question because there is no negative marking. Yeah. Since there is no negative marking, you can safely at least mark an answer. If it is wrong, it is wrong. If you are lucky, it could be right. Even if you are not sure, you can mark the answer. So this is what we say, guesstimate an answer. So you analyze an answer, the options. You take an educated guess. Yeah. So don't take a random guess, but at least an educated guess. So, and of course, you watch your clock, use your rough paper, write down the main points of each question. And in, say, 18 minutes, you are answering 10 questions. So each passage, you should be able to complete in 18 minutes. Right? So you have 36 minutes total, which is divided into 18 minutes for allotted for each passage. And yeah, when you talk about 18 minutes, you should be able to complete a passage in 15 minutes so that if you have any questions which you are doubtful about, you can go back to them. Yeah. So this is what your screen will look like. Your the particular paragraph of the passage on your right side and the question on the left side. And you have this review, help, back, next, all these coming up on top. So if you think that a particular question you are not sure about, you can put it for review. And at the end, all the questions that you have attempted will come up and you can go further and they will even tell you that this is what you haven't attempted, this is what you have marked for review. So, and yes, these are things which you should remember. You have a next button, you have a back button, you can hide time, of course, and you have a review button. Yeah. So next and then submit, then you can go on to your next question. So this is how at the end, your entire review, if you click on review, this is what comes up. So the questions will come up. And if you have answered something, it will be marked answered. Not answered will come up. And if you haven't attempted, that also will, that you haven't reached that particular question as yet. So you have not seen. So you can choose, you can go back to the particular question if you have any doubt, and then you can change your answer. Okay. So now let's go on to some practice. So now you know how you can score well in your reading section. The strategies you need to adopt. Sure about it? So if you have your PDFs, you can follow your PDFs, or if you have your book, this is the first passage, Running Water on Mars. Sorry. Yeah. So your Now, if you have your PDFs, you can, okay, we'll do it one. I'll just quickly take you through the entire passage first. So you can see the PDF on screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Running water on Mars. This is your, if you have your books, it is the TR1, reading practice set 1. So the passage number 1. So this passage has about 5 paragraphs. Yeah. So when we talk about skim and scan, when we say we don't read through the entire passage, we are skimming through the passage now. So what do we see now from the title itself? You know it is talking about running water available on Mars or not. Yeah. So the first is photographic evidence suggests liquid water once existed in great quantity on the surface of Mars. So it's talking about some evidence of liquid water. That's all we need to know. And the last sentence, does it give us some information? Runoff channels. So, okay, we have the 2 types of flow features, runoff channels and outflow channels. So these could be keywords that help you determine the answers. Now, the second paragraph, now the first paragraph we have figured out, it is talking about the runoff channels. Second paragraph is talking about outflow channels. Yeah. Now, the third paragraph, if we look at, some scientists speculate that Mars may have enjoyed extended early period in which lakes, rivers, oceans adorned its surface. So it could have all these features. Yeah, that is the main point here. And so various speculations would have come in the entire paragraph. Now, in the fourth paragraph, these ideas remain controversial. So some controversy about what has been spoken about in the previous sentence and previous paragraph. Maybe this paragraph is talking about various other theories or controversies. Right? Now coming to the last paragraph, aside from small-scale gullies found in this, which are inconclusive, so inconclusive evidence, astronomers have no direct evidence for liquid water anyway on the surface of Mars. Now there's a question over here. So if any question or date or particularly some word which is in say capital letters comes in, you can take note of it. So where did all the water go? So it's probably now last is planet's polar caps. So contained in the planet's polar caps. So what is the entire, when we summarize the entire passage, what do we get? Arushi, how would you how would you tell me that what is the first paragraph talking about? Without reading the entire paragraph. First paragraph is talking about evidence.
Photographic evidence suggests that Mars once had river system similar to Earth.
And we come up with features. Yeah. And the last sentence talks about runoff channels. And the first sentence of the next paragraph is talking about outflow channels. So probably this paragraph is talking about describing the runoff channels. Okay, next paragraph is talking about what, Kesar?
Ma'am, about the scientists, what and when.
Paragraph 2.
Paragraph 2, acha. Description about the channels.
About
like
the outflow channels. Yeah. Paragraph 3, Shreyansh, what is paragraph 3 talking about?
The speculation made by the scientists.
Speculation by the scientists. Okay. Anushka? Okay, no, sorry, not Anushka. Ayan. Ayan, can you have your video on?
Ma'am, I'm actually heading home. I was in the Champions Champion Center. So I'm in the auto now.
Okay. So can you figure out what paragraph 4 is talking about, or you can't see the screen?
No, ma'am, not right now. I'm on mobile data, so it's blank.
It's blank. Okay.
Ma'am, I'll be able to read in few minutes.
Okay. Krishna, what is paragraph 4 talking about?
Ma'am, it's talking about some controversies and then discussing more theories.
Theories on that, right? And paragraph 5, Arushi? What is paragraph 5 talking about?
It says that it has no direct evidence of liquid water.
And at the end, it says that there may be water in the planet's polar caps. Yeah. So this is all we need to know right now about the passage. So we can go back to the questions now. You can, so the questions will be there on screen, so not a problem. So now on screen we have our first paragraph with 2 questions at the side. Yeah, both the questions are related to paragraph number 1. So first question is a vocabulary question. The word merge in the passage is closest in meaning to. So for that, do we need to read the entire passage? No, just a particular sentence, and it will always be highlighted for you. Yeah. So if it is highlighted for you, it becomes easy. So can you give me the meaning? So what do? Read the context. Yes, somebody was coming up with the answer. Who was it?
Answer D, combine.
Combine. Okay. Does everyone agree with combine?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Why did we choose combine? These flow features are extensive systems, sometimes hundreds of kilometers in total length of interconnecting twisting channels that seem to merge into larger, wider channels. So if they are merging into larger, wider channels, we will eliminate, expand, separate, straighten out. Yeah. Okay. Now coming to the next question. It says, what does the discussion in the paragraph 1 of runoff channels in the Southern Highlands suggest? So when we come across the word suggest, what is the type of question we are talking about?
Inference.
Inference, yeah. So a particular fact is given and what does it suggest? So what do? We read through. So what are the key words in this question over here?
Southern Highlands and runoff channels.
Runoff channels in the Southern Highlands. That is what we have to talk about. Now, we can read through the options before we go on to the passage, so we can know that, okay, this option, this information is not there. Atmosphere of Mars was once thinner than it is today. That's probably not the answer, even if we don't read the passage. Large amounts of rain once fell on parts of Mars. River systems of Mars were once more extensive than Earth's. Rivers of Mars began to dry up about 4 billion years ago. Right? So now we get to the passage. So, can somebody read the passage aloud? Who will volunteer? Anyone? No one wants to volunteer.
Ma'am, may I?
Yes, please.
Ma'am, first paragraph, right?
Yeah, the first paragraph that is on the screen.
Photographic evidence suggests that liquid water once existed in great quantity on the surface of Mars. 2 types of flow features are seen: runoff channels and outflow channels. Runoff channels are found in the southern highlands. These flow features are extensive systems, sometimes hundreds of kilometers in total length, of interconnecting twisting channels that seem to merge into larger, wider channels. They bear a strong resemblance to the river systems on Earth, and geologists think that they are dried up beds of long gone rivers that once carried rainfall on Mars from the mountains down into the valleys. Runoff channels on Mars speak of time 4 billion years ago, the age of the Martian highlands, when the atmosphere was thicker, the surface was warmer, and liquid water widespread.
Okay. So now if you see, there's a whole lot of information in this paragraph. So if we say dissect the paragraph, it's talking about the runoff channels and outflow channels. And this particular paragraph is dedicated to the runoff channels. So what are the keywords we get in the paragraph? Found, where they're found? Found in the Southern Highlands. Extensive systems, similar to the systems on Earth. And geologists think they are dried up beds of long gone rivers, which once carried rainfall. They don't carry rainfall now. Speak of a time 4 billion years ago. And at that time, the atmosphere was thicker, surface warmer, liquid water widespread. Now we come back to the question. Question is, what does the discussion in the paragraph 1 of runoff channels in the Southern Highlands suggest about Mars? Right? The atmosphere of Mars was once thinner than it is today. Is that correct? It talks about thicker. Eliminate. Large amounts of rain once fell on parts of Mars. That is true. Yeah, once fell. So we keep it. The river system of Mars were once more extensive than Earth's. Is that true? No, they're just comparing. They aren't saying that they were more extensive than. Rivers of Mars began to dry up 4 billion years ago. Did they say they began to dry up 4 billion years ago? No. They just said that there was water. So that is also eliminated. We are left with only one answer. Done? Yeah? Easy? Okay. Now we come to the second paragraph. Now now here we have two questions. Both are vocabulary questions. We don't really need to read the entire paragraph. Just read the sentence. The word relics is closest in meaning to what? Remains, sites, requirements, sources. So relics usually means what? When you talk about relics of the past or relics from an archaeological site, which usually means remains. So we have to see whether it fits in. Okay, when you're doing vocabulary words, one thing you have to remember, it's not just picking up. They may give you two options which are synonyms. Both may mean the same. Now, you have to confirm which one fits in best. So it should also fit in grammatically. That's one, sometimes the tricky one that. They will give you two options. Both have the same meaning, but one fits in grammatically, one doesn't. Yeah, so you have to be very careful. So here, what do we have? Outflow channels are probably relics of catastrophic flooding on Mars long ago. So, of course, it won't be sites or requirements or sources. Yeah. Okay, next question. The word miniature in the passage is closest in meaning to. So anyone with the answer?
Ma'am, B.
Small.
Small. Of course, miniature won't be multiple, familiar, or even temporary. Obviously, it will be small. Does it fit in? Resembling smaller versions seen in wet sand. That would be it. Now we have more questions. This is pertaining again to the same paragraph. So the question is, in paragraph 2, why does the author include information? So this is what type of a question? Why does the author include information?
Rhetorical.
Rhetorical question. Yeah. So we have to read. So we may not get the answer directly from the question, but keywords can suggest what the answer should be. Right? So what do you have to look for? Why does the author include information about 105 tons of water flow through the Amazon River per second? Right? So now we read through the paragraph. Who wants to read? Come on, Revati has already read. Anyone else? Come on. Shreyansh, do you want to read?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Outflow channels are probably relics of catastrophic flooding on Mars long ago. They appear only in equatorial regions and generally do not form extensive interconnected networks. Instead, they are probably the paths taken by huge volumes of water draining from the southern highlands into the northern plains. The onrushing water arising from these flash floods likely also formed the odd teardrop-shaped islands resembling the miniature versions seen in the wet sands of our beaches at low tide that have been found on the plain close to the ends of the outflow channels. Judging from the width and depth of the channels, the flow rates must have been truly enormous, perhaps as much as 100 times greater than the 105 tons per second carried by the Great Amazon River. Flooding shaped the outflow channels approximately 3 billion years ago, about the same time as the northern volcanic plains formed.
Okay. So what information did you find relating to the question? So we have, judging from the width and depth of the outflow channels, the flow rates must have been truly enormous. So it's a comparison, 105 tons per second carried by the Great Amazon River. So that gives you an analogy to what the flow rates may have been. So flow rates must have been enormous. This is the key fact that you are looking at. So now coming to the options. Option A says, to emphasize the great size of the volume of water that seems to have flowed through Mars's outflow channels. So it's talking about the size of the volume of water. That could be an answer, right? So we keep this answer. We see what can be eliminated. Indicate data used by scientists to estimate how long ago. No, we can eliminate. Argue that flash floods on Mars may have been powerful enough to cause tear-shaped islands. So tear-shaped islands are not related to this particular fact. Argue that the force of floods on Mars was powerful enough to shape the northern volcanic plains. That's a different point, right? That's the last point they're talking about here. So A is clearly our answer, right? Okay, we go on to the next question. This is also related to the same paragraph, that is paragraph number 2. Now, this is a negative question, right? We have except. So, according to paragraph 2, all of the following are true of the outflow channels on Mars except. So, now we have already read the paragraph. You know what it is talking about. So, we can go directly to the options. Okay, so all of you read the options and tell me the answer. So you have to identify the key words in the options and see whether these options, which of the options are correct. Eliminate the options. Now here, you are eliminating the options which are correct. So you have to find what is not, which is not true. So all of the following are true except. So you have to figure out the false answer. Anyone got the answer?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, who's got the answer?
Ma'am, may I say the answer?
Yes, yes, Krishna.
Ma'am, answer is C.
Answer is C. Yeah. Anyone else with a different answer? Revati? Arushi, what's your answer?
I think option A.
Option A is not mentioned. Okay. Let's see. Shreyansh?
Yes, ma'am. C, I think.
You think it's C? Are you sure or are you not sure?
Kind of sure.
Kind of sure. Still doubtful. Okay.
Yeah.
Kesar?
C.
You're sure about C?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's see whether A can be would be a wrong answer or not. So A says they formed at around the same time that volcanic activity was occurring in the northern plains. Now, where does this talk about the northern plains?
Ma'am, I found it. It is in the last step.
So,
correct.
yeah. So, flooded outflow channels approximately being about the same time as the northern volcanic plains were formed. So it is mentioned. So that cannot be our answer for this question. So that is already mentioned. That's not the answer. Okay. Now B, they are found only in certain parts of the Martian surface that we have over here, appear only in the equatorial regions, right? So that is not a false answer. They sometimes empty onto what appear to have once been the wet sands of tidal beaches. Now, is it talking about wet sands of tidal beaches somewhere? So, it says inside they are probably parts, volume, they onrushing water, flash floods likely formed. They have been found on the plain close to the interflow channels. So is it anywhere talking about they empty into the tidal beaches? No, we can't find that information. So C is not mentioned. And carried water northward from the equatorial regions, that is also mentioned into the northern plains. Right? So this question, these type of questions may be a little tricky if you don't pay attention. But they're easy because you know which one is not mentioned anywhere in the passage. So what are you looking for? Which ones are there in the passage? For sure, you know it is there somewhere. You find it out. It may not be exactly the same sentence. It may be a paraphrase of the sentence that is in the passage. That is important. That you should be able to figure out, okay, what this option is saying is the same as what the passage is saying. So the keywords will determine what is the similarity. Right? Okay. Now we come to the next question. This is again a negative question. I won't help you on this. So, okay, no, this is paragraph number 3. It's not the same paragraph. Okay, so first thing we have to do is we have to read the paragraph. Right? So now, Kesar, will you help us reading the paragraph?
Yes, ma'am. Some scientists speculate that Mars may have enjoyed an extended early period during which rivers, lakes, and perhaps even oceans adorned its surface. A 2003 Mars Global Surveyor image shows what mission specialists think may be a delta, a fan-shaped network of channels and sediments where a river once flowed into a large body of water. In this case, a lake filling a crater in the southern highlands. Other researchers go even further, suggesting that the data provide evidence for large open expanses of water on the early Martian surface. A computer-generated view of the Martian North Polar region shows the extent of what may have been an ancient ocean covering much of the northern lowlands. The Hellas Basin, which measures some 3,000 kilometers across and has a floor that lies nearly 9 kilometers below the basin's rim, is another candidate for an ancient Martian sea.
Thank you. So what are the points we get over here? First is that Mars may have enjoyed extended period during with the rivers, lakes, etc. Were on the surface. Now the evidences, Mars Global Surveyor image. So here we're talking about an image that there may have been a delta with fan-shaped network of channels, sediments where river once flowed into a larger body of water, or a lake filling the crater in the southern highlands. So this is important. Yeah. So what are we connecting? The delta to the lake filling the southern highlands. Now, this was your first evidence. Second evidence we come to is other researchers go even further, suggesting that the data provide evidence for large opening expanses of water in the early Martian surface. So early Martian surface had large open expanses of water. Then we have the third one, computer-generated image of the North Polar region. It says that they may have been ancient ocean covering much of the northern lowlands. And fourth is Hellas Basin, which measures around 300 kilometers across, floor tiles nearly 9 kilometers below the basin's rim. And this could also be an ancient Martian sea. Okay, now we come to the question. So which of these options are not mentioned in the passage? Or it says, which of the following questions about the geological features on Mars are answered in the passage except? So which of these questions have not been answered? Right? So what can you not find? First says, what are some regions of Mars that may have once been covered with an ocean? That's what the paragraph is talking about, right? We get an answer to that. Where do mission scientists believe that the river forming the delta emptied? Is the answer there? Emptied into the lake, filling a crater in the southern highlands. That also is there. So that's not an answer. Approximately how many craters on Mars do mission scientists believe may have once been lakes filled with water? How many craters? Do we get how many craters in the paragraph? We don't get that. So that could be our answer. During what period of Mars's history do some scientists think it may have had large bodies of water? Period of Mars's history is mentioned. So C is your answer here. Yeah? This was easy? Now let's get to the next question. This is also related to paragraph 3. According to paragraph 3, images of Mars's surface have been interpreted as support for the idea that. So which of these can be inferred, or we can say this is more of an inference type of question. So which of these can be, we can find evidence about? Yeah. So it's an inference evidence question. So what are your keywords? According to the paragraph 3, images of Mars surface have been interpreted as support for the idea that. So polar regions of Mars were once more extensive than they are now. So what does it say about the polar regions? There may have been ancient oceans covering much of the northern lowlands. So is this supported by the passage? So what is the main purpose of this question? It says, according to paragraph 3, images of Mars's surface have been interpreted as support for the idea that. So which of these can we find evidence for? Yeah, so which are, simply we can say, we can conclude this from the passage. Right? So polar regions of Mars were more extensive than they were now. Can we conclude? What does it tell about the polar regions? We find something over here. Computer-generated view of the Martian North Polar region shows the extent of what may have been an ancient ocean covering much of the northern lowlands. It covered much of the northern lowlands, or that is the view of the North Polar region. So it did cover a large part, if you paraphrase the sentence. So coming back to the option, the polar regions were much more extensive than they are now. In the past, it covered a large part. So they were extensive earlier. Okay, let's see. A large part of the northern lowlands may once have been underwater. Can we say that? Does it? Now, may have been an extensive ocean, but large part of the northern lowlands may once have been underwater. We could say so. Let's see if we can eliminate or we can keep. Deltas were once a common feature on the Martian landscape. Common feature. Can we conclude that they were a common feature? It talks about deltas. What does it say about the deltas? They were fan-shaped and flowed into the larger body of water. But can we conclude they were a common feature? Not really. Yeah. So we eliminate. Now the shape of the Hellas Basin has changed considerably over time. Changed considerably. Let's see. Hellas Basin, which measures some 3,000 kilometers across, has a flow that lies nearly 9 kilometers. Does it talk about any change in the shape? We can't conclude that. So D is eliminated. Yeah. Now between A and B, which one would be our answer? Which can we conclude for sure? Now, polar regions were more extensive than they are now. Were they more extensive than they are now? Do we know how much they are now? No. So we cannot conclude this. The only conclusion we can, only statement that we can conclude for sure is B. So what did we do? Eliminated statements which cannot be supported by the given information in the paragraph. So look at the keywords, go through the passage, find the keywords in the passage, compare and see whether the statement given is supported by the information in the passage. Right? Got it? Now let's look at this one. So this is also paragraph 3. The question is, what can be inferred? So this is a direct inference question. What can be inferred from paragraph 3 about liquid water on Mars? So what can be inferred about liquid water? So now we have already gone through the paragraph. We can go through the options. So you can go through the options and try to figure out the correct answer and let me know. Okay, so which one of these options can you just eliminate? You are confident about eliminating. Yes?
Ma'am, C and D.
D.
C and D can be eliminated. Okay. So why did you eliminate C?
Ma'am, there is nothing about small scale gullies in the passage.
Does it talk about any gullies? Not really. Yeah. And besides, whatever it talks about was in the it's not in the recent past. So here the recent past is not there, and we can't be sure about small scale gullies. Okay, what about A and B?
I feel B is the answer because there is a line, a computer-generated view of the Martian North Polar region shows the extent what may have been an ancient much of northern lowlands.
May have been.
Yeah.
And before that, it said other researchers go even further, suggesting that data provide evidence for a large open expanse of water on the early Martian surface. Yeah. So early Martian surface it could have been, but not in the recent past. Computer-generated view of the North Polar region shows that extent of what may have been an ancient ocean covering much of northern highlands. So it may have been. So now B says if there is any liquid water at all, its quantity is much smaller. Is it talking about liquid water? That if there is liquid water, we can't find that, but still we'll keep that and we'll see if A can be eliminated. If oceans ever existed on Mars's surface, it is likely that the water in them has evaporated by now. Yeah, we can see water has evaporated. So what do you think is the answer, Ayan?
Ma'am, I just rejoined.
Okay,
can I have some time to read the passage?
Okay, you missed out on it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Shreyansh. Now, what do you think? A or B?
B.
B, yeah. So the passage itself doesn't talk about all the water having evaporated. It talks about extent of the water. It talks about water filling the lakes and craters, etc. But It doesn't talk about evaporation of water, right? So now we don't know whether water actually is there or it isn't there. So, but one thing we can figure out from this passage is that even if the water would have been there, it's not to the extent that it was there in the past. Yeah. So we can't confirm about evaporation. So we will eliminate A and we will go with B as the answer. Now you're sure about the answer? So we eliminate options for which we can't find any evidence. So what are we going with? We are looking for evidence. Is there evidence about water evaporation? No. Is there evidence about large quantities earlier but smaller quantities? Maybe now. So because it said if there is any liquid water at all, right? So we can say that if there is water, it could be very small amount. Earlier there was large amount. Okay. So now we go on to the next question, which is related to paragraph 4. So now when we come up with a new paragraph, we have to read it. So now before going into the question, okay, we keep the question in mind and read the paragraph. Which of the sentences below best expresses the essential information in the highlighted sentence in the passage? So can we figure out without reading the paragraph about the highlighted sentence? Most probably we can. Right? So what is the question asking? Essential information in the highlighted sentence. So we have to, what do we have to figure out? Ayan, what do we need to figure out about the sentence? We need to figure out the main idea when we read the sentence. So you will be paraphrasing the sentence, figuring out the main idea. And then we will look at the options which have the main idea of the sentence. And they also told us incorrect choices can change the meaning in important ways or leave out essential information. So anything which leaves out essential information or changes the meaning will be eliminated. Okay, now reading the particular sentence. But detractors maintain that the terraces could have also been created. So terraces could, so it's talking about a possibility, could have also been created by geological activity, perhaps related to the geological force that depressed the northern hemisphere far below the level of the south, in which case they have nothing whatever to do with the Martian water. Nothing to do with the Martian water. So if you read the earlier sentence, these ideas remain controversial. So what were the ideas from the previous paragraph? It was all about water, right? Proponents point to features such as the terrace beaches shown in one image, which could conceivably have been left behind as a lake or ocean evaporated. So this paragraph is talking about evaporation. The previous paragraph didn't talk about evaporation. And the shoreline receded. Yeah. Now, this particular sentence is talking about that these features. So if we paraphrase the sentence, what do we get? Somebody wants to paraphrase it? Revati? Could you paraphrase the sentence and tell us what the main idea is?
Ma'am, it mainly says that the terraces are created by the geological activity and the martial water does not play a role in it.
Yeah. So now what do we look for in the options? We have to see that which one expresses the essential information. So a sentence that should say the same thing. Yeah. But detractors argue that geological activity may be responsible for, okay, it's talking about geological activity, may be responsible for the water associated with the terraces. Okay. Is the sentence talking about that? No. It's not talking about the geological activity connected to the water. It says the geological activity has nothing to do with water. So eliminate. But detractors argue that the terraces may have been formed by geological activity rather than, this is your keyword, rather than by the presence of water. That could be true. Yeah, so we keep this. But detractors argue that terraces may be related to geological forces in the northern hemisphere of Mars rather than to water in the south. Now, is this talking about the same thing? No. It's talking about geological forces, but only in the northern hemisphere rather than the water in the south. D says, but detractors argue that the geological forces depress the northern hemisphere so far below the level of the south that terraces could not have been formed by water. This is going into a completely different explanation. So D is also eliminated. So what are we left with? Left with B, which is the only option which explains or rephases the sentence and keeps the main idea. Right? Anyone with any doubt in this? So what are you doing when you have a highlighted sentence? Ayan? What's your strategy for this type of question?
Let me cancel out the wrong ones.
How do you cancel out the wrong ones? What's the first thing you do?
We scan the highlighted text.
Scan the highlighted text and paraphrase it, figure out the main idea. So paraphrase and main idea, these are the two things you have to focus on. Yeah. Next, what do you do, Shreyansh?
Yes, ma'am.
After you paraphrased and got to the main idea, what do you do?
We'll cancel out the choices which are not correct according to our paraphrase.
And what is the most important thing in all of this? Identifying keywords. So your keywords in the passage and the options will help you to eliminate the wrong options. Right? So now everywhere you have terraces or geological activity, something else is, something or the other is coming in. But what is at least some keyword in the option will help you to eliminate it. Right? Okay, we can move on to the next question. It's related to the same paragraph. Now we can go into reading the entire paragraph because this question is not related to just the highlighted portion. Yeah. Okay. So Arushi, can you read the question, read the passage?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
These ideas remain controversial. Proponents point to features such as the terraced beaches shown in one image, which could conceivably have been left behind as a lake or ocean evaporated and the shoreline receded. But detractors maintain that the terraces could also have been created by geological activity, perhaps related to the geologic forces that depressed the northern hemisphere far below the level of youth, in which case they have nothing whatever to do with Martian water. Furthermore, Mars Global Surveyor data released in 2003 seem to indicate that the Martian surface contains too few carbonate rock layers containing compounds of carbon and oxygen that should have been formed in abundance in an ancient ocean. Their absence supports the picture of a cold, dry Mars that never experienced the extended mild period required to form lakes and oceans. However, more recent data imply that At least some parts of the planet did in fact experience long periods in the past during which liquid water existed on the surface.
So what is the main idea from this paragraph then? Krishna? What is the main idea we get from this paragraph?
I think in this paragraph, I think they say that mild period may have been there, which may have caused the
mild period may have been there. So they are. This is giving us certain evidences, controversial evidences. Yeah. So the first controversial evidence is that water may have been may have evaporated. Yeah, and the shoreline receded. Second, as we saw in the highlighted portion, that all these features have nothing to do with water. They are because of geological forces, right? Now, the fourth point we come up with is that evidence of carbonate rock layers, too few carbonate rock layers on the Martian surface. And what does it indicate? It says, now if you read this very carefully, layers containing compounds of carbon and oxygen that should have been formed in abundance in an ancient ocean. So now if it has too few carbonate layers, means there wasn't abundance of water. If there too few carbonate rock layers means that there wasn't abundance of ancient water. It should have been formed if there was abundance. Absence supports the picture of a cold, dry Mars, never experience extended mild period. So it is cold and dry. If it is too cold and dry, then do you expect water? If you paraphrase this and take out the essence, what do we get? If it was cold and dry, then there was never experience mild period. So it wouldn't have formed lakes and oceans. Yeah, that is number 4. And 5 is more recent data imply that at least some parts of the planet did in fact experience long periods in the past during which long periods in which water existed on the surface. Right? So various theories coming up. Now let's see what the question is talking about. According to the paragraph 4, what do the global surveyor data suggest about Mars? So we are saying, what do the global surveyor data suggest about Mars? Ancient oceans of Mars contain only small amounts of carbon. Can we say it had small amounts of carbon? It says too few carbonate layers. Okay, let's see. Climate of Mars may have not been suited for the formation of large bodies of water. Climate. So now here it says, according to the paragraph, what do the global surveyor data suggest? And there is a key. Are we looking for direct answer or information? Or are we looking at what can be inferred? We are looking at inference. What can we infer from the data given to us or the information given to us? Yeah. Climate of Mars may not have been suitable for formation of large bodies of water. That's what it is talking about, right? If we paraphrase, that's what it comes down to or points to. Cold, dry Mars never experienced extended mild period. Okay, liquid water may have existed on some parts of the Mars's surface for long periods of time. Now, is that an inference or is that an information? So now here we have to remember we talked about differentiating essential information from non-essential information and looking at what the question is asking. So what is the question asking? What is suggested or what can be inferred? So we have to differentiate from what can be inferred and what information is given. Right? So if we look at A, is this an inference or information?
Information.
This is an information. So this is not an inference. B, is it an inference or information?
Inference.
This is an inference, yeah? So this could be an answer. Liquid water may have existed on some parts for long periods of time. Inference or information?
Inference.
Huh?
Inference.
Is it an inference? If you look at the last sentence, read the last sentence. However, more recent data imply that at least some parts of the planet did in fact experience long periods in the past during which liquid water existed on the surface. So this is mentioned in the paragraph, clearly mentioned. So this is an information given to you. So if you paraphrase this last sentence, this is what it comes to. Liquid water may have existed on some parts for long periods of time. Yeah. So this is not an inference, it is something given to you. Okay, let's look at the last one. Ancient oceans that formed on Mars dried up during periods of cold, dry weather. Dried up, evaporated, yeah. Absent supposed picture of cold, dry Mars, never experienced. Or if we talk about all the water evaporated and shoreline receded, so we can say that it dried up. So it is pretty much mentioned that it has dried up. Yeah. So can we say D is an inference? Yes, Revati, you can unmute yourself. Is D an inference or information? Ayan? Not sure?
Yes, ma'am, not sure because it is also saying in the para that Mars had a cold, dry weather.
Yeah. So did it evaporate because of the cold, dry weather? If the statement was that the oceans formed on Mars evaporated because of the cold, dry weather, that could be an inference. Yeah. But it says that during this period it evaporated. It dried up. So now here it says never, or we can rather say that this is not even an information that we can figure out. So it's neither clear. So in the beginning it says it evaporated. Here it says that it had cold, dry weather. But can we link the two? We can't link the two, right? So neither can we infer, nor is it an information. So it is clearly a wrong statement. So we eliminate. So what are we left with? We are left with B. So even if we were not sure whether B was the correct answer, that's the only statement that we are left with. Right? So here when we have this type of question, now you will get these tricky questions in TOEFL. So what are we doing? What's the strategy? Who will tell me the strategy? Revati? Can you tell us the strategy for this question?
Ma'am, the word suggest told us give a clue about what the question is asking.
So what can we infer? So an information is given to you. What can we infer from that information? Yeah. And what you infer, the statement that you are inferring should be supported by the information. That's one thing you have to make sure. That the statement here, is this supported by the information? Climate of Mars may not have been suitable. Yeah. So what is it talking about the climate of Mars? First, it tells us that the carbonate layers are too few. Second, it says, should have been formed in abundance in the ancient ocean. Absence supports a cold, dry Mars. So this is talking about the climate of Mars. Climate of Mars was cold, dry, and which would suggest that there wasn't abundance of ocean. And if there wasn't abundance of ocean, you did not find carbonate layers, or there were few carbonate layers. Yeah. So we can infer that the climate of Mars may not have been suitable for the formation of large bodies of water. Right? So we are connecting the information given to us to the statement that we can infer. And what is the next thing that we have to be very careful about? Statements like D, which seems to be an inference, but is not supported by the information. Right? Any inference not supported by the information is not a correct answer. Got it? So now just making random guesses may have got you to a wrong answer. So you have to analyze each statement, each option given to you, and then get to the right answer. Okay. Now we come to the last paragraph. And here we have a little question on vocabulary. So I think this is pretty simple. Was the answer? Yet even setting aside the unproven hints of ancient oceans, extent of the flow channels suggests that a huge total volume of water existed on Mars. So hints, unproven hints of ancient ocean was the answer. Come on, anybody unmute yourself, give me the
Clues.
Clues. Yeah. It couldn't be features, it couldn't be arguments, it couldn't be effects. Yeah. Okay, now even though there is question on this one. So even though there's no other question on this, we will still read it because we may require the information for a later question. Aside from some small scale gullies found since 2000, which are inconclusive, astronomers have no direct evidence of liquid water anywhere on the surface of Mars today. And the amount of water vapor in the Martian atmosphere is tiny. So there is water vapor. Yet, even setting aside the unproven hints of ancient oceans, the extent of the outflow channels suggests that a huge total amount of water existed in the past. Where did it all go? Answer may be that virtually all the water is now locked in the permafrost layer. So Mars has a permafrost layer under the surface with more contained in the planet's polar caps. So they are not negating the presence of water. They say if there is water, it could be in the permafrost layer. Right? Okay. Now we move on to our next question type. So the next question is a sentence placement question. Yeah. So you have, so the question is the paragraph 2 of the passage. Now we have already read paragraph 2 earlier. We know what it is about. There is a missing sentence. The paragraph is repeated below and A, B, C, D indicate where the following sentence could be added. Yeah. Your sentence is, these landscape features differ from runoff channels in a number of ways. Now, here we need a particular strategy. What are the clues that can help us locate where the sentence can be placed? Now, if you see, the sentence begins with these. So it won't be in the beginning of the paragraph. There's no option also. Now, there should be something in the previous sentence which talks about these. Yeah. Landscape features differ from runoff channels in a number of ways. Now, this is paragraph 2. What was paragraph 2 talking about? It was talking about the outflow channels. Yeah. Now, it is talking about outflow channels, and these landscape features differ from runoff channels in a number of ways. So, what are we looking at? Now, this is number of ways. These number of ways will come in the rest of the paragraph. So, probably this sentence is in the beginning of the paragraph. All the clues suggest that it could be in the beginning of paragraph. So, beginning of paragraph, we have A and we have B. So let's analyze A, whether it fits in or not. Outflow channels are probably relics of catastrophic flooding on Mars long ago. These landscape features differ from runoff channels in a number of ways. They appear only in equatorial regions and generally do not form extensive interconnected networks. They in the next sentence refers to features. So we can connect the first sentence. So this is a connecting sentence between the first sentence and the third sentence. So we can fit in at option A. So your answer is option A. So what did we do? Looked at the clues. Sentence begins with these landscape features. So the landscape features should be mentioned in the previous sentence. Differ from runoff channels in a number of ways. Number of ways is in the rest of the passage. Read the previous sentence. Outflow channels probably relics of the catastrophic flooding on Mars long ago. They appear only in the equatorial regions and generally do not form extensive interconnected networks. So, they refer to the something in this sentence. Yeah. So, wherever you place a sentence, it should connect what is before, what is after. Done? Not very difficult? Okay. So, you look for the prepositions, you look for the pronouns. So, pronouns, now if it begins with the, and, these, they, means it should connect to something before, right? And it should connect to something in the next sentence. So next sentence begins with they, means that they should refer to something in the previous sentence. Okay. Now, if we even not to confirm, we would go through the rest of the passage. So rest of it is talking about instead they are probably paths. So this is a feature. The onrushing into the northern plains, the onrushing water. So if we now what we have to see is if we place it in the other positions, does it interrupt with the flow of the passage? Or does it interrupt with the connection between the other sentences? If it interrupts, that is not a place where you would place the sentence. Right? Okay, we'll just go on to the next question. Now, this is a summary of the passage. Yeah. Introductory sentence is given to you. Summary of the passage is provided. It says complete the summary by selecting 3 answer choices. Now you have 6 answer choices given to you. 3 answer choices that express the most important ideas in the passage. So remember, you are looking at the most important ideas from the entire passage. Some sentences do not belong in the summary because they express ideas that are not presented in the passage or are minor ideas. So you will be eliminating minor ideas or specific details. So minor ideas or specific details will not be main ideas. So you have done this in SAT also. When you are looking for main idea, you will eliminate specific details. Yeah. This question is worth 2 points. But remember, you have to get all your options correct. Yeah. So write the answer choices in the places where they belong. You can either write a letter of your answer choice or you can copy the sentence. So you have your spaces given here. You can either write A, B, C, or you can copy paste the entire sentence. So now what you have to do is read through the 6 options, eliminate the options which are not main ideas of paragraphs, and first step is choose 3 options. Second step would be to arrange the options in order. So can you all please do this? Give it a try, and then we can discuss. This is one of the questions which take most time. So about, say, a minute or more, you will require for this. Okay, so what did you eliminate? Yes, anyone wants to tell me what you eliminated?
Ma'am, A and B.
A you eliminated. And B or D?
B.
B. Okay, you eliminated B. You are still left with 4. Yeah. Ayan, what did you eliminate?
Ma'am, I eliminated E, F, and
You
D.
eliminated E. You eliminated F. What else?
And B.
B. Okay. Krishna?
Ma'am, I eliminated A, B, and yes, ma'am. A, B, and I think E also. Ma'am, I'm just
Also.
reading that sentence.
Okay. Revati?
Ma'am, I think the order is C, D, and F.
C, D, F. Okay. So you are left with C, D, and F. Anyone who eliminated D? No. Arushi? What are 3 options that you would go with?
C, D, F.
C, D, F, are you sure? Because we have somebody who eliminated F. Okay. Priyansh?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you think now?
Even I wrote CDF.
You wrote CDF. Okay, coming back to Ayan.
Ma'am, I put down A, C, D.
ACD. Okay. Okay, so now we have two sets of answers, more or less. Now let's analyze the options quickly. A says various types of images have been used to demonstrate that most of Martian surface contains evidence of water, of flowing water. Contains evidence of flowing water. Now, what does that mean? Images from Mars tell us that there is flowing water. Is that what we are looking for? No, we have to eliminate A. So, Ayan, would A be a correct option?
No.
No, right? We don't have images of flowing water. Now, B says the runoff and outflow channels apparently carried higher volume of water than on Earth system. So that is not even mentioned. It's just comparing, but it's not that it had more water. Mars's runoff and outflow channels are large-scale distinctive features that suggest that a large quantity of liquid water once flowed in Mars. Yes, that is a main idea of these two, the first and second paragraph. D says, although some researchers claim that Mars may once have had oceans, others dispute and offer alternative interpretations. That is the main idea of third and fourth paragraphs. So it is true. Now E says, okay, so we go with D. Everyone went with D, right? While numerous gullies have been discovered on Mars since 2000, many astronomers dismiss the evidence that Mars once had liquid water. Can we say that? Astronomers dismiss the evidence. Nobody dismisses the evidence. But they are not sure that, yeah, they do dismiss some of the theories, but not completely. So, but this is not a main idea. It is just a particular point, and the entire point is not true. So, gullies and dismissing evidence doesn't go together. Now, F says there is little evidence of liquid water, but it is assumed. So, this is the main idea of the last paragraph. We can go with this. So, now if we go by the order of C, D, and F we have, we go by the order. C comes first. So, C, D, and F is also the order. Done with this question? Yeah. Now, if you look back at all the questions, we took time to analyze. So, which of the questions will take the least amount of time? The vocabulary questions. They can be done in a matter of seconds. Next, the direct questions where a specific information is given don't take too much of time. Which of the questions take most time? These last two type of questions. The summary question and the sentence placement question. So you can save your time on the other questions. Now remember, we are doing more than 10 questions so that we can cover all types of questions that can come in a passage. So that is for practice. But if you get 10 questions, so how much time can you devote to one question? From about 5 to 10 seconds to the bigger questions can take about a minute or two. So you have to be able to manage your time. Yeah. So our time is also over now. We've already taken way beyond. Now, If you go through all of you have your PDFs, and I will anyway share the material. So you, for homework, you will do reading passage number 2, right? So I will just go back to. So reading passage 2 is ancient Rome and Greece. Yeah. So that also has about 13 to 14 questions. Yeah, 14 questions. So 14 questions, maybe you could take about 15 minutes or so. Not 15. Yeah, try to do it in about 16 to 18 minutes. Yeah, because in the exam, for about 10 minutes, 10 questions you will get, but you have to be able to practice on speed. So speed and accuracy both need to come. Okay. So we will meet again on Wednesday, and everyone please try to be on time so that you don't miss out on anything and I don't have to repeat something when you come in. Right? Okay then. Good night for today. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am,
So anyone has any doubts as of today?
ma'am, actually,
Hmm.
I have coaching classes in Champions, means of UT only,
Mm-hmm.
for 11. So on almost all days we have till 5:30, but on Wednesday I have till 8 o'clock the class. So I
Okay.
might miss the lecture or I might not.
Okay, if you miss the lecture, then you can ask for a video recording of the lecture.
Okay.
So whenever the video recording of the lecture is put up, you will be able to access
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
So it's only on Wednesday or any other day also?
For this week in the timetable it's for Wednesday.
Okay.
Otherwise all days are fine.
Okay, so anytime you have this problem, you can inform me from beforehand.
Okay.
And anyway, you won't miss much because we'll have 2 sessions for reading, and then after that also we will have 2 sessions for each thing, more or less. So some topics we may have just 1 session, some we have 2, but we can clear your doubts up later also. You can have an extra session if you have missed out on something.
Okay.
So if you are missing out on any session, inform Sujit ma'am.
Okay.
And she will inform us.
Okay.
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 Okay, then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anushka ma'am.